Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Why am I saying ladies and gentlemen? I don't know. Um, yeah, new video location. It's just my bed, but I wanted to film somewhere else, and I didn't want to film at my desk because the light's too bright. And I'll explain also why I do that because it is something to do with sleep as well. Um, but I reckon for the next few videos, I'm gonna be filming on my bench because you saw in my last video how it was like the bench press in the background. So yeah, but yeah, let's just get straight into it. So the first thing with sleep, like the approach I have for sleep is I always aim for 8 hours of sleep minimum. I'm not gonna get into it. The research is there for you guys to see as well because you don't want to take my word for it. You also want to do your own research because I'm not a sleep expert. I'm just a teenager who is into their self improvement and whatever. So yeah, but I ultimately aim for 8 hours of sleep minimum, and to be honest, that's probably the maximum I can get with my schedule, especially when school starts up. So yeah, next thing I do is I don't have any of these things on me, but I'm just gonna explain them, oh, and say them as well. But I usually I usually have a tea, but you do not want to have any type of tea because teas like black teas, your green teas, those teas still have caffeine in them, and you do not want to have caffeine in your system right before you go to bed because that's going to obviously stimulate you and increase your heart rate, and that's the things you want to decrease before you go to bed because you want to relax and just wind down and then kind of fall asleep. So the tea I usually have is called chamomile tea. I think that's how you pronounce it, and I usually have 2 bags of it in my cup, and then I mix it with raw honey and some apple cider vinegar, usually 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. And I heard this from a guy called Tim Ferriss. I mentioned that in my last video, and yeah, it has done wonders for my sleep in the way that it relaxes me. It has helped me so much, and I highly recommend. So the next thing I do with my sleep, well, the next thing I do, um, is I obviously have some red light going, but the more important thing is you want to make a dark environment. So I go for I try and decrease as much light as I can. Obviously, I still have this light going because I still want to do stuff. But the reason is because you don't have any blue light. And the reason is, well, like, it depends when. You don't have blue light right before you go to bed because your body um, releases melatonin when it's like dark. But when you have all this light, your body thinks that it's still light outside and it's daytime, which basically means that the melatonin isn't being released, and that's your sleep hormone, which basically makes you feel sleepy and drowsy and all that type of stuff. And yeah, without that, it's kind of hard to fall asleep. So that's why I cut out pretty much all blue light, at least I'd say 40 minutes before I go to bed. There are other people who do it like an hour before they go to bed, but I tend to do it about 40 minutes or so before I go to bed. But if I want to go on my phone, which a lot of the viewers for this video will do before they go to bed, I recommend going into the settings app and going on to like the search thing and searching up color filters, and you turn it on and you can kind of fiddle with the light stuff or whatever, but basically you end up at this section whatever where you can kind of choose your colors and you want to get it all the way to red, and that's going to cause you to not get all this blue light in your face and just kind of get red light, because red light is still like telling your body that it's like sunset, so it's like sunset colors, so it's still gonna help your body produce melatonin and stuff like that. But if you can even avoid red light and just be in darkness, that's the most optimal thing you can do. But this is what I do and it works for me, so yeah, I highly recommend this as well. And the next thing I usually do is I have a hot shower or a hot bath, and I pair this up as well with a room that is quite cold. So I just do this by opening my windows up, and I'm not any sleep expert, so what I'm about to say might not be entirely factual, so yeah, do your research for this as well. But I'm just saying all of this stuff because it works for me, and my sleep has been great, and it's been very efficient and very effective, and I've felt great after waking up from my sleep. So yeah, basically, the after your like you come out of your hot shower, your hot bath, your body temperature basically plummets. Your inner body temperature, yeah, plummets, and that basically makes you feel really tired. That's why, like, a lot of the time when you come out of like a hot shower, you feel like quite tired or whatever. That's because your body temperature plummets. And you also notice when you go to bed on like a hot summer's day or just during the summer and you don't have an air conditioner on and it's just uncomfortable to fall asleep because you don't want to be in your blanket because it's ultimately going to get too hot and stuffy, but then it's just really awkward to sleep without a blanket on. But then when it's in the when you're sleeping in the winter, it's your bed's like quite cozy, and once it like gets warm, it's really hard to get out of your bed, and you're just in that like zone. That's like kind of what I'm creating, and there are other people who do this as well. I'm not the only person, but I found that in my personal experience, it has made my whole sleep experience a lot more delightful, pleasurable, and I always like look forward to it, and it just makes me fall asleep a lot easier and quicker as well, which is like what you want if you want to maximize your sleep duration and quality and quantity and stuff like that. And the last thing I do isn't necessarily the most important, but it's still quite um, important to just know, just in case you do snore, and that's having having nose tape. So you can get this from, if you live in Australia, you can get it from Chemist Warehouse, but if you're not from Australia, you could probably just order it online. Like, I'm sure it's not that hard to get. And basically what it does is it opens up your airways in your nose and it promotes nose breathing rather than breathing through your mouth. And the reason for this is because you don't want to be snoring when you're sleeping, if you do snore. Because what snoring is your tongue going down your throat, and your body's basically gasping for oxygen. That's why when you hear someone snore, it's so loud. And there was a study done that I saw and I read. Now, I don't remember the study, so again, do your research on this as well. But in the research, they found that the person snoring had their heart rate go up to like levels to which it was almost as though they were doing like a 100-meter sprint. So basically, what that study showed is that when you're snoring, you're not actually resting because your body is like under high amounts of pressure because your heart rate's going so quickly. So you're basically not rested, and therefore then the rest of your day you're going to be fatigued because your body hasn't had the adequate amount of rest and whatnot. So, but if the tape doesn't help you with the snoring, you can also opt to tape your mouth. Just be careful with what type of tape you use because some tape can cause irritation in the skin around, as well as just not being strong enough, and it kind of just comes off really easily. So just do your own research as well, but ultimately, this is all just of personal experience, and I would say I've got my sleep quite down pat, and I would say I get 8 hours pretty consistently, or around that 8 hour block sleep, which is what you want to get as a healthy teenager or just young person. But yeah, hope you enjoyed that video. Hope you found something helpful out of this video, and have a good evening. Peace.